Hey everybody, Alex here, Out of the Park 23, Pittsburgh Pirates franchise, and we are just near the trade deadline in the 2023 season, and the Pittsburgh Pirates year has not gone as planned, somehow worse than we were last year, sitting at 46-60, and so we'll go through the team here briefly, go through the draft, and have made already several trades, and you may have picked up on some names missing from the lineup here. We'll go over that in just one moment. Similar story, similar issues as last year, just a dreadful offense that has done nothing ranking last or next to last in essentially every category except for strikeouts, where we're doing apparently pretty well in avoiding that. The average, I think, is better than last year, but not by much, and so that's been the disappointing part. I've always struggled in these series and out of the park with the Pirates trying to generate offense. Pitching has not been quite as strong as it was last year. Certainly the strength of the team right now, defensively, I think we're pretty solid. But overall, we're just, pretty much a mess here. I guess we're doing even better than what the Pythagorean record would indicate there, but, not looking good against lefties or righties. Just had a really bad May and June, picked things up here in July, so just hit a real bad losing streak at one point during the season, and again, that's in large part due to this, about worst offense in baseball. Going through the names in the lineup right now, and again, there are going to be some new ones that I promise we'll explain here in a moment. Brian Reynolds has been excellent, one of our 2 All-Star selections this year, so he's on pace to have nearly a 6-WAR season, have him locked up longer term, and so that's good. In terms of the everyday guys, Ke'Bryan Hayes, he had gotten hurt and missed a little bit of time with a PCL strain, but didn't miss a lot there, and then came back and didn't have the best start of the year, but is really starting to find his stride right now, so it is good. The 2 guys we've locked up long term, and I forget if I had shown last time that both these guys have signed extensions. I think I had shown the one, but not the other, but Reynolds and Hayes are here for the long haul. I think Hayes I hadn't shown, and so that deal is longer than Reynolds. That's going to run through 2030 with a team option in 2031, and so happy to get Ke'Bryan Hayes and Brian Reynolds locked up. Diego Castillo, he's been switching between second base and right field. Listed right field right here, but is playing second base more often for us lately. Defensively, he's pretty average. I would say average overall, but is swinging a pretty good bat. Seth Beer has been a big disappointment. He got hurt as well, missed a little bit of time on 2 separate occasions this year, just not bringing the overall power and average that he had last year with Arizona. His BABIP is way low, 258, after being at 338 last year with the Diamondbacks. And so actually the guy we traded him with is Greg Allen is just doing an awesome job in Arizona. 342 average. He had missed some time with an injury, but he's going to be a 5-WAR player this year. And so we are looking pretty bad on that trade to start. I can't believe Greg Allen's having the great year that he is. He was terrible for us last year. Oneil Cruz, we got to talk about Oneil Cruz. First, his numbers, they picked up a bit here. I think he's improved a bit month by month. Maybe not having the best July ever, but better than how he started in April, and kind of got better throughout the year. I have changed, and you guys tell me if this is out of the park ethical. I have changed his ratings a bit, and once my scout updates, I think we'll see the numbers reflected. Because if you're watching real life, you know that Cruz has been called up by the Pirates, top prospect, taking the league by storm, and for some reason, out of the park, whether you're looking at OSA, who likes him even less than my scout does, really does not seem to like Oneil Cruz. And so I started a new game that had updated roster settings like a week after I started the franchise on here that you guys were watching. Out of the Park did an update, and they updated some of the projections and stats and ratings for these players, and I'm assuming Cruz was one of those guys because his ratings have seemed to change now. So I went into the editor and updated his ratings here to match what they would have been had I just waited a week or so for the Out of the Park updated one. So hopefully that's okay. That's the only time I'll ever go into the editor to see a player's numbers and the under the hood type stuff, but I think Cruz should be good in this game. I think it makes sense. It's a little bit more fun, admittedly and selfishly. And so his numbers have been tweaked to kind of reflect where he really should and is in the new game of Out of the Park. So if you guys think that's okay, let me know. I think it's okay to make that one change and that one change only. From there, going through the rest a bit quicker, Alfredo Tovar has been nice for us. I think he's kind of fallen off a little bit here over time. Yeah, 17 WRC plus. So he's really had a cold July overall, but pretty happy with getting him as a spring training ad. I think I was looking at the wrong number with Cruz. I was looking at bats for some reason. Yeah, WRC plus. Yeah, he's kind of fallen off a little bit, but was really hot in May, so better than where he was in April. Travis Swaggarty, he's got a really good glove, really good here defensively. That's the reason why he's starting for us. But man, 227 average. The numbers. He's actually kind of gotten hot here, I think, in the month of July, because he's really struggling, hitting below 200 for a stretch. And so defensively, he's fantastic. Going to have over a 10 zone rating, but you would like to find a bat a bit better in center field. New guy called up here, Endy Rodriguez, one of our top prospects. He's picked it up here a little bit. Still some work to do, but I like the overall profile he has. He's been a first base DH guy for us. At catcher, Ivan Herrera, tough year for him. Out of the Park does not like the low contact guys, so he's hitting the .171 as a catcher. Really negative WAR overall, a Rule 5 pickup, but I've already committed to him this long, so I'm going to just roll with him the rest of the season. In terms of pitching, a couple of new names here, and we've called up, the kids are playing in Pittsburgh, and so Carmen Bladzinski, one of the top prospects, he's up now, has gone through 5 starts, has a strong 3.29 ERA. The BAT BIP is pretty generously low. I bet you his FIP probably isn't quite as good. Yeah, it looks like Sierra and FIP have him into the 4s, so he might be getting a little lucky right now, but happy with where he's at. And Kumar Rocker is up as well. Injury replacement, but I figured it was a good time. Just one start, just went through his first start. I played the game out actually today in terms of the Out of the Park universe. Went 4 innings, allowed just 1 hit, did walk 4, so some first game nerves to control. Has some work to be done there, but 5 strikeouts, and again allowing just 1 hit in a crazy one against the Brewers. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit later in the video. And so Rocker, our first round pick last year, already making a major league impact. Rest of the current day rotation, Mitch Keller has just been about average, maybe a tick above, and then some new faces. Trey McGow has been called up as well. He's done pretty well in his first kind of full-time role as being a starter for the Pirates, and Garrett Stallings acquired in the, I think, Heath Hembree trade last year. He's not done all that well. Got shelled pretty early in the year and is coming off a really strong performance, though, going 7 strong the other day against the Reds. So a little bit better there for Garrett Stallings. Bullpen, see the names there. A lot of new names as well. David Bednar, though, is a constant. He's been excellent. Kevin Quackenbush looking like the end of the line for Kevin Quackenbush. He's been really hot and cold, and so it's not all been bad, but when it's been bad, it has been bad. Anthony Banda, I don't know how he's consistently excellent as a 40 overall, but does really well in the sim. And then a lot of new guys here. Ricky Devito got called up, extreme ground ball, really good movement. It's been kind of roughed up a bit lately, but I do kind of like the profile overall. Jason Foley, we claimed off of waivers from the Tigers. Extreme ground ball, really impressive looking numbers. Was struggling in Detroit, but had a super high BAT BIP in limited time. Those numbers have predictably calmed down, and so I'm happy with acquiring Jason Foley. Ryan Baroki, we claimed him off waivers last year, and he's been very good for us. We've made some trades. I don't think we're going to make another one before the 31st, but if we do, Baroki's a guy I'm looking to potentially ship. Cody Bolton's up as a long man. He's been terrible, but he just got called up and the season's already over, so I'm not too bad about that. Tim Hill, we acquired him. I'm really into claiming relievers off waivers, and this might be the best lefty reliever, the old kind of loogie in baseball. Check out the splits here. Even against righties, he's not bad, but against lefty, he is just ridiculous. And so you see his opponent, or his pitching splits here. If I pull up his basic stats, yeah, 0.87 ERA against lefties. Lefties are hitting a $1.61 off of him, and so that's kind of what he's here for. he may be a trade candidate, probably more likely in the offseason than he would be right now, but I just really couldn't pass up on that overall profile. Do want to mention one guy that came back from injury, Zach Thompson. He was in the rotation as a starting pitcher last year. His numbers came down, unfortunately, coming off the injury that he had. He suffered a torn labrum in his shoulder. We did call him back up. Clicked the wrong button. We did call him back up to Pittsburgh. I felt there was some baseball justice to get a guy back to the majors after coming off a really severe arm injury. And so he came up as a reliever. His first appearance, he was pretty good, and then he was just destroyed the next two. I think it was, against Detroit, he went 2 2/3, allowed just 2 hits. And then his last 2 appearances with the Pirates, he was terrible, giving up 6 earned runs, and so he kind of quickly went back down to AAA, but I kind of wanted to allow him in my head to make that at least return so he can say he came back to Major League Baseball off a serious arm injury, although his career with the Pirates is pretty much close to being done. First trade we made was sending our one and really only major free agent signing this offseason, Andrelton Simmons, the shortstop. Just wasn't cutting it for us, and with the team being out of contention, I figured let's cut ties with him. So he goes to the Yankees, where he's hitting it even worse than he did in Pittsburgh. I wanted to send him to New York, and it's been a little bit, so hopefully things haven't changed. I try to make the trades realistic in terms of what teams would actually need and what they could be, hypothetically looking for. And in terms of backup shortstop, actually they're starting shortstop now, which I'm not sure what's going on there, but they had Trey Sweeney as the backup shortstop, and he's a really good player overall, but he's not a good shortstop. He's a 40 rating, 50 infield range, and so he really shouldn't be playing shortstop. And they had someone in front of him. I'm not sure what happened there. It was with the intent for Simmons to be the backup, but either way, that trade made sense. And in terms of what we gave up for Simmons, or what we got in return, I should say, for Simmons, gave up another pitcher here in Kyle Nichols, who was acquired in, I think, a real-life trade the Pirates made last year or 2 years ago. It seems okay, but nothing I'm going to miss too much. We have a pretty strong starting pitching farm system and prospects. $500,000 in cash because the Yankees apparently need more money. And in return, we got Beck Way, who's listed as a starting pitcher in that text you saw a moment ago, but he'll be a reliever, I think, for us. And really interesting type of numbers in terms of his stuff and movement. Control's weak, but overall, 3 strong pitches: the sinker, the slider, and the changeup. And so, could be a starter, but ground ball pitcher, and just good numbers overall for Beck Way. And one last point, in the interest of realism, I try to make the trades. What would a backup shortstop on a half-year deal, rental player like Simmons, what would that get you in return? And Beck Way in the Yankee system was their number 13 prospect, and so it felt like it made sense to me to trade Simmons, quad A potential type of pitcher, and some cash for their number 13 prospect. That seemed to, that seemed to make sense to me, and I think Beck Way in our system, although I do like him and think he's better than maybe number 13 ranked prospect, he's the number 17 prospect in our system, so I think that trade's pretty fair. Next trade we made as part of the July 3rd, kind of 4th of July news dump, trading away one of our relief pitchers, and I always struggle with the name, so you guys see the name there. He's going to go to Los Angeles, retaining 50% salary, and by the way, Simmons, we retain 70% salary. It's a pretty economical 1-year deal, so that's fine for me to do. He's doing really well, though, the relief pitcher for LA, and so in return, we got 2 prospects back. Lavon Soto, who was their number 12 prospect in the Angel system. We need shortstop help. It's hard to find good defensive shortstops, and overall Soto's profile, about as strong as you're going to get for your kind of run-of-the-mill relief pitcher. He had done well. Actually, hadn't done that great with the Angel system, and was with the Angels in the big leagues for just 1 game there, but look, numbers actually, well, I take that back. I keep looking at the at-bats for some reason. 111 WRC plus in AAA for the Angels, 271 batting average. Good numbers overall, and so, a strong defender, I think, as well. And so I'm actually pretty happy with Soto's profile. Shortstop, kind of a weak link, especially after trading Simmons. And then Ivan Armstrong, who was not ranked in the Angels' top 30, and so I felt more comfortable making that deal. But our scout likes him a lot. Excellent movement, ground ball pitcher. He's going to give up 0 home runs, 0.7. I guess a little bit of bad luck there, but had done a really good job overall limiting the long ball and has 2 strong pitchers in the sinker and the slider. So getting a shortstop that I think in Soto can maybe compete for a bench backup role, and Armstrong, who might be a bullpen piece. One of the bigger and potentially more controversial trades we made was sending JT Brubaker to the Atlanta Braves. Brubaker had been excellent for us the past 2 years. He was still under team control, and it looks like maybe they signed him to an extension. He was arbitration eligible next year with a $6 million arbitration estimate, and for our small market, it kind of came down to, do I want to keep JT Brubaker or David Bednar? Both guys had about a $6 million arbitration estimate next year. Keeping both at that number was going to be tough to do, and so I decided maybe strike while the iron is hot and send Brubaker away. And yeah, he has signed a 4-year, $34 million extension, kind of eating up, looks like, maybe 1 additional year of free agency. And so I think these are going to be 2 years of team control, maybe a 3rd year there. So interesting to see the Braves ink him. He has not done well in 4 starts, though, with Atlanta. We also sent shortstop John Zarella, which is just very much organizational type of depth. OSA does not seem to like him really anymore, but he was just an add-on piece to get the deal done. I've relaxed the trade difficulty because I think it's a little bit tougher this year, and I think just getting to kind of make deals to make sense to me is a little bit more fun. I promise you I'm not stealing from the computer. I'm losing some of these trades, as you saw in the Greg Allen deal, so but I think kind of the return, I can make that a bit more realistic overall, and just promise, pinky swear not to exploit the system. The return we got for Brubaker is really interesting. Douglas Gold was kind of a lottery ticket, 18 years old, but really interesting tools in terms of the eye, discipline, gap power. Not that that's the most important thing, but just the overall look at him, and could be a good to average and above average corner outfielder. And so really like Douglas Gold, what he could potentially be. The catcher here is really interesting too. Drew Milas, I guess is how you would say it. I think he's got good numbers for a catcher overall. He's going to get on base, and catchers in this game still are tough to really be super productive with their bats. And so if you can at least get on base and play decent defense, I'm good with that. So that's a guy that might be up on the big league roster end of this year, because the catcher situation is kind of a mess right now overall. And then we got back another reliever in Victor Vladnik, who's not going to be great, control issues, but I think it's good stuff, good movement, and 3+ pitches. He's not done well, and very limited work here in AA Altoona. And let me look at the numbers here. Gold was the 14th best prospect, Milas the 21st ranked, and Vladnik the number 9 prospect overall. So to me, the number 9, the number 14 and number 21 prospect for a really good pitcher, really like steady, consistent, not an ace, but a good pitcher in Brubaker, who they've now signed to an extension. I think that's pretty fair. We're not getting a top 3 prospect in their system, but we're not getting the number 28 prospect either. So I think that deal really makes a lot of sense. Last trade we made, and it was partial want to and partial had to. Roberto Perez, our captain of a catcher, requested a trade. He was running into a kind of an every other day start scenario with Ivan Herrera, and so he came to me during the All-Star break and said, I want out. And as Mike Tomlin would say, we want volunteers, not hostages. And so I agreed to trade Perez to the LA Dodgers, retaining 85%. And giving them a pitcher. It was kind of tough to trade Perez. Decent pitcher in Logan Hoffman, but again, we have a lot of prospects there and some cash, because again, the Dodgers apparently need money just to get back a reliever in Aldre Acosta, and I don't know where he was ranked in their system, but was not terribly high, and the Dodgers could use some backup catcher help behind Will Smith. And so if we go check out the Dodgers, what they had there, they had somebody behind that was not that good, that it felt like that made sense. I think it was, I don't know who it was. I don't know if it wasn't this guy, but they had somebody there that made sense for them to acquire a strong defensive-minded catcher. And so those are the trades we made. Maybe 1 or 2 more will come. I don't really anticipate one happening, but it's created a lot of movement here. And so in terms of guys getting called up and just trying to do something new, Carter Binns has been called up as a profile for a catcher. Not that strong defensively. The contact's low. Get on base. He'll walk a lot, but I'm not sure how that's going to look Let's see who else has been called up. Tucapita Marcano has been called back up. I do like this guy. A good utility player overall. Going to get on base at a pretty decent clip. And so excited to have him. Called up another youngster, Pagero, I guess is how you would say it. He just got a brief cup of coffee with the Pirates in real life. He's going to be a second baseman, shortstop. Has not done well in limited action overall, but we're letting the kids play the rest of the season. And then again, from a pitching standpoint, to get Bladzinski, who is a top prospect, top 100 prospect, and Kumar Rocker up. Again, our farm system looks really impressive overall. If you look at the top minor league system rankings, we are by far number one. And again, the starting pitchers we have, there's some development to be done there, but Thomas at control is going to be a bit of a concern, but everything else looks excellent. Eddie Yeen has really spiked up and taken off. He went from 35 potential to 60, and so really excited about that. Overall, Quinn Priester, again, some control issues there, but excited about him. And Brennan Malone not shown on this list. Part of that, strong arm system as well. Now let's talk about the 2023 MLB Draft, which just wrapped up about 2 weeks ago in the game. And our first round pick here, a guy I didn't anticipate taking at 16 overall, but the more I looked at him, the more I went, man, this guy's pretty good. And I'm working on the name here a little bit, but I think it's Tatsuri Nageshi. But really advanced college bat from Middle Tennessee State, the Blue Raider, 21 years old. Maybe not overly dominant in any one category and average defensively overall, but I love the high contact. I do not have enough guys in my system who are, even 50 or above contact guys, and so that's really important. That just looks like a really solid dude overall. He's in high A ball right now. 92 WRC plus. It's very early there, but and he was pretty cheap as well. His signing bonus was $700K, well below slot, so we'll save some money there as well. But that guy, I wanted one of the starting pitchers. It was a really strong starting pitcher class. And this one guy who went number one overall, spoiler alert, I thought maybe he could come to us, but this dude, it's a prep arm, so I know it's very much kind of roll the dice, but Thomas White looks just so good, like the next Clayton Kershaw kind of dude. He went number one to, let's see, where'd he go? Minnesota. So I'm going to watch Thomas White's career pretty closely. Second round was a guy we considered at number 16 in the first round. He goes 56 though, so he fell. Carl Schmidt, and again, trying to find shortstop. It's not that I'm too terribly focused on drafting for need in the draft. It's all about just talent and getting good guys, but I think a really good shortstop bat. The bat looks really good for the position. Defensively, you'd like that to be at least 55 in terms of the shortstop rating, but 60 infield range, and maybe that grows over time. His work ethic is good, but even if he's an average shortstop with a guy that's hitting 300 with 10 home runs, getting on base 350, on base percentage, that could be really, really attractive. And again, I think he was pretty cheap, 100K. So a lot of guys under slot here, which for a high school guy I'm surprised about, but I won't complain about either. And I was debating in the second round, really agonizing over Schmidt versus this guy who fell into the third round, Duke Ekstrom, a high school arm, but 18 years old. But, that changeup can just develop a little bit. I don't love the below average movement fly ball tendency. I don't typically draft a guy like this, finesse pitcher as well, but this guy seemed really good. He has not had a good start to his career with almost 10 ERA here, very, very, very early on, but he cost a little bit, 2.7. He was an overslot signing, but he could have been a second round. I think he was mocked to go in the first round as well. So, we'll see how he turns out, but I think there's enough intrigue. There was a third round pick, first rounder, that would have been a little questionable, but third round, I think that's well worth a flyer. Going through other names here, Justin Best, who's apparently hurt. Didn't know that he's hurt, strained oblique, but that's all right. But yeah, I think he can improve. There's good power overall in that bat. Not that guy, Kemp Alderman, What a great name that is. But another high school arm, Dylan Questad, very similar to Ekstrom overall. But again, we're talking fifth round there to get a guy that my scout says 65 potential, 70 potential OSA. Their average, accuracy on that, but this dude's like even 50, 55 overall, in terms of realistic and actual potential. That's a steal in the fifth round. So a really good draft class this year. So kind of going through some other names here. Nate Franco, good defensive catcher. Got a reliever. Not seen any good relievers in the two drafts I've been through. Usually you get top-end relief pitchers. Not seeing that here. Derek Cherry was honestly the best guy in the draft, and so that kind of rounds things out pretty well. Kelly Austin, another reliever, and then a great name here in Kemp Alderman. He's going to hit for 200 at best, but a lot of power in that bat. So that's kind of where things sit right now. What else can we look at? I don't want to make this video too long. It's already probably a bit longer than I would like it to be. The standings, pretty typical, I would say. Maybe the Royals, a little surprised there in AL Central. Mariners out there in the West, but in the Central, Chicago. Oh, they've really gotten hot here. Milwaukee, I think, was doing well this year, but Chicago's gotten hot. It's a much better and more competitive Central than it was a year ago. In terms of our injuries, Otto Lopez, he's had a setback. I don't know, it's just been a lost year for Otto Lopez, which is disappointing. Will Crow was on rehab, but then got hurt, and so he's been trying to work his way back. Kranix missed a little bit of time. Phoenix Sanders threw 4 pitches for us, and it's not played at all since, and so that's unfortunate. And Bryce Wilson coming off an injury as well, but he's been pretty strong for us this year. I'll do one more thing. We'll go into Kumar Rocker's first start because it was a pretty insane game that I actually played out. All right, we're just going to look at some highlights here on Rocker's first start, and the end of the game is pretty interesting as well. And so 4 innings, a shutout ball for Kumar Rocker in his debut. I wanted that to be at home. I like my top prospects to have their debut at home in front of the PNC Park crowd, and so he had issues with that pitch count getting up. That was one reason why he went just 4 innings. He has already had 70 pitches, and I said, he had a good outing overall. Let's not worry about it too much. I think Reynolds had an important at bat here against Woodruff, who's an excellent pitcher. Yeah, Reynolds over the Clemente wall, hits a home run with 2 out and nobody on. And let me skip ahead. Hopefully that horn isn't too super loud. Where do I want to go here? We're actually already on the top of the 6th. So that was, you saw Kumar Rocker's debut. You saw the one at bat, but everything else was pretty solid. Let's go 9th inning. We're going to skip ahead here. We're down 4-1. It was a reliever. I think it was Quackenbush that allowed a 3-run home run. And so we go top. Let's go bottom 9, actually. And so it's bottom 9. We're going against Josh Hader, who's just unbelievably good. And for some reason, numbers aren't showing up here. That's strange. But looking at Josh Hader, if the game will let me, which I don't think it will on the highlights, but 110 stuff, 80 overall, just, an insanely good pitcher. And so I'm thinking, this game's over. We just blew the lead. Kumar Rocker didn't get the win, wasn't in line to get the win, but still won to get the victory in his debut. Then the Pirates start making it interesting. Marcana, and we're doing pinch hits. We're clearing out the bench here at this point. So Marcana gets on with a leadoff single. Seth Beer steps in. He's going to fly out to right. So I'm thinking, well, maybe that's just leadoff single that goes nowhere. Matthew Frazier comes on. 2-1 count. He's going to rip one. And a diving play by the injured Travis Jankowski. So I'm going, my goodness, that just robbed Frazier of a double. Really could have made things interesting. Now, I think Andy Rodriguez had walked. So Carter Binns, who we pinch hit, put him in the game here off the bench. He comes in. And he's going to rip one down the third base line. And so now I'm like, this thing's really getting interesting. And so 1 run's going to score. Runner at third will hold. And Binns has a double.
Let's go, let's go.
This might be too loud. I don't know how the audio is out of the park right now. So Diego Castillo comes in. And he's going to hit one. And it's going to drop at Jankowski's feet. That's going to bring in 2. And so the Pirates, unbelievably so, ties the game there on Castillo's single there. And so I think that was it for the 9th. As Hayes strikes out. As Hader finally gets out of it, but after blowing the save. And so we're going to go bottom 10. Ryan Reynolds up. 1-2 count. Against another hard-throwing Devin Williams. He's going to strike out. And that brings up O'Neal Cruz. Full count. Payoff pitch. And Cruz in the right field. And that one is gone. A walk-off home run for O'Neal Cruz. And the Pirates storm back down 4-1 in the 9th to win it in walk-off fashion. And by the way, that was before I even changed any of Cruz's potential and current ratings. And so I'm really excited to see Cruz in his new evolved form, I guess you could say. But I think that's just fair, and it's a little bit more exciting for this series as well. So that's going to do it. Again, kind of a lost season for the Pirates. We'll see what happens. Maybe we get hot late. Team chemistry still hanging in there despite trading away a captain in Perez. And does our coach not have a good relationship with Kumar? We're going to have to work on that. But a lot to figure out here. It's going to be a busy off-season upcoming, although we'll have a video before that, I think. We'll see how things go. But let me know your feedback for this team. Appreciate you guys watching, and we'll talk to you soon.